Good day and welcome to Indo-Pak conflict decoded from lens of strategic, trade-centric, geopolitical power play. A power play that teaches us a lesson to look beyond what is visible so as to claim your sensibilities and yes, claim your actions. This podcast reflects my personal judgment and analysis based on publicly available information and is not independently verifiable unless the classified documents are accessed, which are not available to me. I would advise viewer discretion. I'm your host Sid, and today we are examining a disturbing question that every Indian should be concerned about. Was India manipulated into the May 2025 India-Pakistan conflict? Was India plotted into a geopolitical trap remotely orchestrated by the United States and China, with Pakistan as its B team? From the US-China tariff wars to the devastating and barbaric Pahalgam attack on 22nd April 2025, this episode is my academic take at how global powers may have used India as a bargaining chip, leaving it diplomatically disadvantaged. All credits to the Indian Defence Forces and its people, who swiftly and surely were heading towards a permanent fix before it was booby-trapped. Now first things first, the military de-escalation brokered by Mr. Trump is a superficial fix, a Panadol when the region needed surgical permanent solutions. It was a superficial fix. A de-escalation brokered by overemphasizing trade interests is a farce. Nations go to war for sovereignty, survival and economics, not trade for sure. It is good that people have not used trade to broker peace before Mr. Trump did, and that is because any self-respecting nation, people value sovereign identity over trade. If you value sharp geopolitical analysis, please like, subscribe, and let's dive into the chronology of events and discover the. Before we dive in, let me assure you about my credibility to handle such complex analysis. As a management consultant with more than 30 years of global experience, I approach geopolitics through lenses of strategy articulation and implementation, stakeholder management, and negotiation techniques. By applying frameworks like competitive positioning, stakeholder alignment, and principled bargaining, I aim to decode the complex global events with clarity and precision. Today, I will use these management tools to analyze how strategic missteps and negotiated power plays shaped the India-Pakistan conflict, revealing who truly held the trigger. Now, to understand recent Indo-Pak military engagement, we must start with US-China trade war, escalating in early 2025. The United States, under President Donald Trump, imposed steep tariffs on Chinese goods, potentially as high as 145% according to some online discussion. And this disrupted China's $4 trillion export economy. Global firms from tech to manufacturing began shifting operations to India, which was projected to grow at 7% in 2025. This positioned India as a strategic counterweight to China, despite China's ineffective theatrical TikTok warfare launched against the US. A dynamic noted in online forums where analysis suggested the US was leveraging India to pressure Beijing economically. Meanwhile, China, facing supply chain challenges, had to balance between its $100 billion trade with India and its Belt and Road Initiative in Pakistan, and probably to market its defense industry using Pakistan as the advertisement showcase for its capabilities. Pakistan, however, was in dire straits with $131 billion debt and only $10 billion in reserves. The International Monetary Fund was reviewing a $7 billion bailout for Pakistan, with a $1.3 billion climate loan under immediate consideration. And remember, Pakistan's history of political instability, marked by frequent leadership disruptions through imprisonment, exile, or judicial intervention. And that underscores its reliance on external support, such as China's backing and the IMF's financial lifeline, so as to stabilize its position during the conflict. These economic tensions set the stage for a calculated move, the Pahalgam attack, designed to exploit India's predictable response and reshape the geopolitical chessboard. Remember, if your enemy knows your response in advance, he has already defeated you, and that is how trap for India was set. On April 22, 2025, a terrorist attack in Pahalgam, Kashmir, killed 26 civilians, primarily Hindu tourists, in a brutal assault seemingly linked to Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba. Please note, I'm using the word seemingly rather than being definitive because that's where the foundation of trap lies. India accused Pakistan of orchestrating the attack, citing two Pakistani nationals amongst the perpetrators. The attack's timing during US Vice President J.D. Vance's visit to India and its civilian toll evoked memories of 2008 Mumbai attacks, guaranteeing predictable public pressure to teach Pakistan a lesson. And Indian mainstream media super amplifying the issue without even realizing that the real players and the moves being made. Our mainstream media, for its own TRP, built a narrative, and that narrative pushed the public and government into an action that the enemy exactly wanted India to take. Remember, the day enemy can predict your behavior is the day of your nemesis. Power lies in being unpredictable yet effective. Pahalgam was no random act. Online discussions suggest China, Pakistan's closest ally, may have tacitly supported the attack to provoke India. Remember, the terrorists asked religion and then killed. Pause and think why. Was it to socially divide India and to implode our social fabric? And who amplified the message? Not the terrorists, not China, not Pakistan, but our very own mainstream media and of course some of the YouTube mavericks. Job well done for benefit of enemies by our so-called nationalist channels and YouTube mavericks. India's post-2016 and 2019 retaliatory strikes after Uri and Pulwama established a clear pattern, and the pattern is major attacks trigger cross-border action. From a strategic perspective, the Pahalgam attack was a calculated trigger, leveraging into India's predictable response to entangle it in a conflict and distract from its economic ascent. Evidence of Chinese technologies such as Huawei satellite phones used by the attackers fuels speculation of Beijing's involvement, though direct proof remains limited. On May 7, 2025, India launched Operation Sindoor, a series of precision strikes targeting 9 terrorist sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Using its air power, India claimed to have neutralized Lashkar and Jaish-e-Mohammed camps, and the evidences of which are coming up in high-quality definition in HD. Pakistan reported 31 civilian deaths, escalating the conflict with drone and missile exchanges along the line of control. India's response was decisive, but that is where it played into the trap, and the Indian mainstream media accelerated India's fall into the trap by its all-out war rhetoric and parading ex-defense officers who have not seen a defense brief for last so many years. The mainstream media narrative shifted from war against terrorists to war against Pakistan, and they helped India fall into the trap enemy wanted. Ironical that war for TRP rating superseded war for a nation's principle. Now, applying a negotiation lens, India expected support from its strategic partners, the United States. Yet, the US withheld explicit endorsement. US withheld explicit endorsement, unlike Pulwama, where the US backed India's strikes. And Mr. Trump administration offered only vague calls of de-escalation in this conflict. Secretary of State Mr. Marco Rubio urged restraint, and Mr. Trump dismissed the conflict as a centuries-old feud, which India and Pakistan will have to settle amongst themselves. Now, this ambiguity left India on tenterhooks, misaligned with its expectations of its partners' support. This is the chip Navy porters used to force India into a ceasefire. Remember, you don't hold the cards statement to Ukraine. Online sentiment reflected frustration, with commentators noting India's diplomatic isolation despite its military success. Meanwhile, Pakistan faced no pressure. On May 9, the IMF advanced discussions on Pakistan's $7 billion bailout, with additional climate funds under review. This financial lifeline, secured mid-conflict, bolstered Pakistan's position, suggesting the external powers rewarded its role in the escalation. Now, from a change management perspective, this contrast highlights a failure to visibly align global stakeholders, leaving India exposed. Now starts the climax of the well-thought chess game. Enter President Trump on May 10, 2025 at 5:25 p.m. India time. Mr. Trump announced a full and immediate ceasefire on Truth Social, claiming US mediation as the key to peace. India and Pakistan confirmed the ceasefire, but the violations followed within hours, highlighting its fragility. India insisted the agreement was reached directly with Pakistan's military and downplayed US involvement, while Pakistan thanked Trump and of course its advertisers, China. The premature announcement, as noted in online critiques, embarrassed India, portraying the Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a secondary player. Looking at from a strategy lens, Trump's mediation was a power play. By keeping India on edge with ambiguous support, the US pressured India diplomatically, aligning with Trump's claim that the trade was ceasefire lever. Indian officials denied trade discussions, but Trump's May 12 pledge to substantially increase US-India trade suggests he sought economic concessions. Simultaneously, the US used India's military success to pressure China. Conflict's escalation, with India's strike exposing vulnerabilities in Chinese-supplied Pakistani systems, gave the US leverage in trade talks with Beijing, a classic negotiation tactic to exploit competitor positioning. On May 12, 2025, 2 days after the ceasefire, the US and China announced a trade truce in Geneva, rolling back tariffs that had strained China's economy. Online discussions suggest the US leveraged India's military pressure on Pakistan, China's ally, to extract concessions from Beijing, who feared disruption to its $100 billion trade with India and Belt and Road investments. China did not support Pakistan directly in the conflict. However, China supported its investments in Pakistan. China supported its defense industry by using the military conflict as a demo of its weapons and technology. The outcome? The US secured a trade win and bolstered Trump's image as a deal maker. China protected its economic interest, avoiding escalation. Pakistan, with its IMF lifeline and Chinese backing, maintained its regional standing. India, however, emerged bruised. Despite India's military success, it faced diplomatic embarrassment from Trump's announcement, no tangible outcomes, and a fragile ceasefire that failed to address Kashmir's root issue, the issue of cross-border terrorism. Online voices echoed this sentiment, labeling India an unintentional pawn in a US-China power game. This ceasefire, like a Panadol, offered temporary relief but no surgical solution, which was the need of the day. India was outmaneuvered, its predictable response exploited to serve larger geopolitical agendas. Well, the Indo-Pak conflict reveals a troubling pattern. The Pahalgam attack baited India into a predictable response. The US withheld its support to India, pressuring it diplomatically. And the ceasefire served US-China trade interests while Pakistan secured economic relief. Now, applying a management consulting framework, India's strategic miscalculation and failure to align global stakeholders left it diplomatically exposed. This case underscores the need for adaptive strategies and robust negotiation tactics in a multipolar world to protect India's rising global stature. What's your perspective? Was India outmaneuvered, or did it maintain its strategic autonomy? Share your thoughts in the comment below and let's continue this critical dialogue. If you found this analysis valuable, please like, subscribe and share with your colleagues who are interested in geopolitics. Join us next time for more insights into global power dynamics. This is Sid signing off. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.